I'll start by welcoming you to Astrology Alert and ask you what you've been pondering, with all this stuff that's happening in the world or anything at all. I mean, bring up anything you like that you want to talk about in the psychic,
It,
intuitive, tarot. What methods do you use again?
yes, well, yeah, I'm a medium, and I do use tarot and pendulums, which are over here. I guess I didn't realize had already started, so apologize for the background stuff. But yeah, I've got pendulums. I have yeah, a whole lot of cards and oracles and things, but it depends on what I'm actually doing, where the tools that I use. So for my medium experiences, it's very different than what I'm doing on YouTube, which is actually, I think, kind of difficult because I'm trying to read people that I can't see in the chat. So it's a little different. Sometimes I get information, sometimes more for others. It just depends. But when I'm in person on a site, it's a whole different story because I can tell just by walking up to a building if there's a spirit in there. So it's interesting, but
Mm. So you prefer, for you, the in-person energy, you get a better
Mhm.
connection
Yes.
to a person. Right,
And I've
right.
actually, been in establishments where the spirit has interacted with me. And I knew where they were in the building, which is funny because I'd never been upstairs in that building, but I was asking one of the ladies who worked there, I said, there's somebody up there right above me. And she's like, yes, there is. How did you? I'm like, I don't know what's up there, but I can tell that they're there. And they've already found me. And then after that, I had a very cold like finger like on the back of my neck. But okay.
Hmm.
But
Very interesting. Very
yes.
interesting. So what kind of have you connected to any of the anything at all that you want to talk about around current events or people or anything at all that you want to
Mhm.
contribute to the body politic? People out there are
Yeah.
anxiously watching the news
Yes.
cycle because it's so crazy.
Yes. Well, one of the things I believe, and I don't really, excuse me, have anything totally to back that up at this point, but it does feel as though the Democrats are going to get the House back. And McCarthy is just, this is so short for some reason. Like he's just not going to be uh, the Speaker of the House for very long. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I think it's because they may lose the House, but I know I'm not following the whole when the elections are and who's going to be. So I don't know what the time frame is, but I don't see him being there very long.
Yeah, that
So,
I definitely could can go along with that because his chart is really really tough in
right.
2023 and into the first part of 24. So yeah, I can totally back
Yeah.
that up. As I honestly wasn't sure he would even be able to win. What happened is he won, but in a very compromised way, and so now he's
Yes.
he's being manipulated or he's hostage, to all kinds of different viewpoints. And so yeah, I can totally agree with that. But your feeling is that in 24 the Democrats get the House back.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what the time frame is for when who's up for the elections and how they can. I haven't been paying attention to it, but I just kind of know this, and I've been saying also all along that I feel that like Trump is in trouble,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, he's
it's
never.
coming.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
So
can, you can. That's another one that'll second, both through the common sense of what we're seeing in the news, but also, yeah,
right.
his chart is not the chart of a person you would. It's a chart you wouldn't want to have if you have criminal liabilities. Let's just put it that way. Very bad chart for that. So.
Exactly. So he's definitely going to be in some trouble, and I'm glad, excuse me, that they've said that the documents is really a big one, and that is dangerous. And I've been saying this all along, and but it really is pretty much a slam dunk. And then he made it worse for himself when he went to CNN and said what he said. And, even lately, Bill Barr has come out and said, is it Barr and Ty Cobb
Like,
have both
yes.
come out and said, yeah, he's going to go to jail. And there are already federal employees sitting in jail right now for doing that. So, justice for all, so you can't do it. And the fact that they've obstructed justice, I think it's really going to, uh, it could happen. And I
Yeah.
know no one believes it, but
No,
he's not a king.
I know, because no, I think people. Well, let's be fair first to people. It is a bit frustrating, sometimes enraging even to see such bad behavior, go unpunished for so long. But it is true too, though, that this has been said many times that the legal system moves really slowly, especially if someone has access to lawyers. They can stall and delay. That's all Trump ever does. Trump's whole game is file motions, delay, play for time, right? That's his game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yes, yes, and it's not working anymore. And
no.
so I think he's going to find himself in some deep, serious.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Trump, that it's so ironic that ironic, ha 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 for us, and ironic, terrible for him. He built this whole thing that he did. This whole plan was to uh, basically attack Hillary for her documents, for her emails. And what does he go and do? He goes and does. He did. In fact, he's on camera back then saying, "Oh, these are important documents. He should be
Right.
prosecuted." Now that he's on the other end of it, it's almost like karmic retribution. And the interesting thing is, his chart has a lot of connections to the third sign, which is the sign of documents. And so, in a sense, it's the same house that rules messaging. So his whole career has been all about messaging things and also putting his name on things. The third sign is also the place of names. So Trump has profited from stamping his name. But now records, which is also the same house, become the thing that can take him down, among other things, because it's not the only
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
No,
definitely not.
no.
And we see that the courts are going against him. He's losing all of these cases left and right. I'm wondering what his chart says on that.
Well, it says that
Is
he'll
that
lose.
same thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
no. When you've got, thing is, when your chart is compromised in that you have conjunctions, squares, oppositions of heavy planets, especially Saturn is probably the most dangerous, but
Mhm.
really all of them, but always related to what did you do before. You can't, if you say to a person, oh, he's a Gemini and he's getting prosecuted, it's because he committed a crime. If you're a Gemini, you don't have to worry about someone knocking on your door and arresting you for robbing a bank that you never robbed. That's not how it works.
Right.
You will get some potential challenge period when planets are harder, but you can use that to develop yourself and it's not really a problem. In his case, the development comes through the suffering he's creating for himself from prior actions, which, it's just the way life works. If you commit
Right.
crimes, there's a good chance you'll be, you know,
Yep.
taken
You
into
do the
account
time.
for it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
It's
can
true.
make crimes, you do the time. And
You
that
do
should
the time.
definitely happen here. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what you've been sensing. What have you sensed about
Oh, yeah.
so do you have a feeling about the 2024 election, the presidential part of that?
Mhm. Well, I don't think it's definitely not going to be Trump, and it won't be DeSantis. I'm trying to be nice, not give a name.
So
DeSantis.
you think
Just
neither
say,
one? Neither one.
uh-uh,
Interesting.
no.
Do you have any
And
sense
I
of who it might be? Because I heard there was I think Kim was saying something about that. What's your sense of who it might be, or what kind of person it might be?
well, I feel that the Democrats are still going to win
Hmm.
the 2024 election. But as far as it's like no matter who they put up right now, I think they're in trouble because it's just this their whole I mean, everything that they're doing is just culture wars, and nobody wants that. And I mean, it's tiresome. I think the people are getting sick of it, and it's hurting half the population. And so, it's just not, I don't see them winning. I would be surprised, but
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I
hopefully,
mean, the thing about culture wars too is that you could say everybody's sick about them. You could also say that their culture wars are likely to lose because if you, for example, they're going on all the time about woke, anti-woke, all this, but the polls tell you that 55% of the country think woke is good. So you're fighting the majority. That's a tough fight. You know, you can keep doing that, but a lot of people disagree with you and they'll vote against you. So,
yeah, they're
no,
just trying to make people doing the right thing sound like it's something bizarre because I don't even know. Woke to me is not even a word being used correctly, so it
of
just
course.
doesn't work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. But I mean, yeah, it's they project a lot, and I think that that's part of their problem. So it's just they talk about what they're doing and try to put it on somebody else. It's like when they're talking about Biden and trying to say, "Oh, the Biden crime family," and I'm thinking, seriously, really?
I know.
What's the crime
But
family?
I know. It's just it's so bizarre though because you think about Biden and he's just almost the last guy that you could pin that on. Like I can think of some that like I remember for instance Anthony Weiner. If they had said, "Oh, he's a criminal," people could have said, "Well, you know that sort of could fit." I mean, you gotta make the crime fit the person. Biden just doesn't seem to be the type of person that would do that. And then when they focus on his son, you know, you got to laugh because you think, okay, so Hunter Biden did all these terrible things, and this topic was already alive in 2019. And Bill Barr would have prosecuted him if he had anything to do it with, but I'm sure he didn't, and that's why he didn't. That's the bottom line, because
Right.
he was helping Trump any way he could. And I can tell you for a fact, if he had a case he could build, he would have done it, right? So,
Hmm.
but he didn't. And in the meantime, what did Barr do? He gave that job to Durham. Go over and find dirt on whatever. Durham spends all this time, and he can't find anything because there's nothing there. And
Nope.
yet Republicans are saying, "Oh yes, he did. He found something. He found the truth of whatever." He found nothing. Nothing. He wasn't able to prosecute anybody, which is really the bottom line, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It was a
exactly.
waste of money,
Yeah,
which is what
exactly.
all of his whatever it is he sends people out to do turns out to be as a waste of money. And then he doesn't pay anybody. So even though Durham was working for the government, but same principle.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
just yeah,
No, it's
yeah, that was
we're
it.
living in an era when I think the most frustrating part is people's stubbornness and lack of education leads them into thinking and believing things that are anything
Right.
from incorrect to crazy. Like, for example, they're saying now about Durham. The report says that, whatever, says that the FBI this, and it says that it was a Russia hoax. What they don't tell you, because I was watching and you probably saw this too, is that the Senate Intel Committee, which at the time was chaired or at least inhabited by Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, put out their report in 2019 saying
Mhm.
there was communication between the Trump campaign and they were trying to get the Russians to help them. It was in black and white. They were saying it there. But they're very clever. They put it out with their signatures, which is the Republican Intel Committee. Okay, let's emphasize
Right.
that. And then Rubio immediately goes on Twitter and says, "We found nothing." And that's all their people will find, right? That like the MAGA types, okay, they found nothing. When the report actually says the opposite, just like now, you say Durham found all kinds of things. Durham found nothing. He said the FBI was too harsh to. What is the FBI supposed to do when they see a presidential candidate talking to all kinds of Russians? You have to investigate it. It's obvious, right?
Yes. And believe
Exactly.
me, they're watching.
Yeah,
So
they should be. I mean, if the FBI isn't watching, then who's going to watch? You know, plain and simple. It has to be that.
definitely.
You know, I saw another person who said, I think it was one of the great writers at the Times or somewhere who said, he said, because Jim Jordan is going after, complaining about the FBI being, you know, anti-conservative, and this guy pointed out, yeah, but it was your FBI. All these complaints you have were with Trump's FBI. So what are you complaining about? You know, it was
Hmm.
the FBI that you put in charge why didn't you deal with it? It's
Right.
to me, they're
Well, they're
living in
not,
La La Land, in my
yeah,
opinion.
and they're not supposed to be partisan anyway. So it's like this whole thing. I just want things to get back to normal. It's
Yeah.
just too much, and government's not supposed to work like that. So
Yeah, well, it
I
could be
think
a while, but
hope it
I'm
doesn't.
glad that you have a sense that the
Hmm.
election, because really, you see what's happening now with a lot of this, uh, the prosecutions and so forth. It is important that the next president be Democratic, or we're going to have a problem.
Hmm.
Because if you get a Republican president, they can start to put pressure on the Justice Department to
Right.
not prosecute anybody.
Well, Trump is already disqualified because one, the documents, and two, he wants to throw out the Constitution. So right there, you can't be the president.
Well,
So
no, except that no, unless the thing is that's only on the level of common sense, but on the level of
no,
what he's allowed to do, he could even be in jail and run for president. I think the only way I don't, I'm not sure 100% about this, but I think the only way that he would be stopped from running, well, it would have been if they had convicted him in the second impeachment. That was pretty sad what McConnell did there. But what also could happen is if Jack Smith charges him with some kind of attack on the government, some kind of charge that means he cannot run. And I don't know what that would be. I don't even know if
well,
obstruction of justice is
the,
enough. It
the,
might have to
the,
be something
the
else.
Federal Records Act and the Presidential Records Act both state that if you mishandle documents, take documents, destroy documents, you are disqualified from ever holding office for the federal government.
Is that
So
right? Oh,
it
you're
is in
kidding.
there.
Okay, okay, that I didn't
I
know.
am not kidding.
Are you 100% sure about that?
Oh, I know it very
Okay,
well.
well, if that's true, okay, so if it's true that
Yes,
if it's in the statute, then he's not going to be able to
it's
run.
there.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yep.
Okay, well then that I can't think
But
of anything more just and ironic if that's the way it turned
yeah.
out.
Well, I think what has to happen because DOJ is looking at the Mar-a-Lago documents. Why we keep calling it that. But and let's see what's happening. I'm sorry. Got people. Okay. Sorry about
Mar-a-Lago
that. Okay.
documents, I like how you put that.
Yes, yes, so that one is going to, I guess when they sort that out and he gets in trouble for that one, that will be one of the places where he could be stopped.
Okay, I didn't know
But
that.
yeah.
Thanks
Oh
for letting me
yes.
know. I thought that I was under the impression that something around sedition or what he did on January 6th could be
Yeah.
the thing, but that's harder to prove. But I didn't know that. See, no one has mentioned that in the
Mishandling document. Yep, it's in the statute.
huh. And okay, well then he's host.
Very familiar with it.
He's host because then that's all. So is it something you've looked at the act? You've looked at the wording?
Hmm.
Oh, cool. Very cool. That's
Yep,
cool.
it's public
Yeah.
information. So you
So
can,
it actually says you're not allowed to
yep, hold
represent.
office. Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
That's
that's an
why it's
amazing.
very important. It's very dangerous to him, his having mishandled those documents.
Well,
So
that's kind of amazing. What I'm finding amazing about this is that so
it's
many
intense.
so many pundits should be mentioning this, as a threat to, but it hasn't been mentioned that much. It's
Yeah, but
interesting.
it's in there. It
Huh.
is in there.
Well, then, great.
Yep. I did a whole show on it, I think in like 2021. I was looking at the January 6th committee and I had pulled up the documents and I was explaining the difference to everybody. So it's
Wow.
interesting.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
powerful. Thanks for letting me know because I was not focused on that. And
Yeah.
because it is true. I do agree with you that that is, well, it's the easiest way to prosecute him because he can argue, he can say things like
Yep.
the National Records Act says this and that. That's all made up. In court, the prosecutor will remind them, no, it doesn't say that. You're not allowed to take them home,
Right.
and
Nope.
you're not allowed to think, you're not allowed to telepathically,
No,
uh,
because there's a process for everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, there's no way that he could do that. And yeah, the obstruction of justice is another one. So that one is very dangerous. Georgia is dangerous to him, and there's quite a few. So he's not
Well, the thing
out of
is
the
that
woods.
when I look at Trump's chart, the feeling I get is that if the more this goes toward the next election and beyond, the more trouble he's in, because a lot of what happens with these legal, like for instance, January 6th, you can make a case, but it takes a lot longer because you really have to get all your ducks in a row for the prosecutor to make sure that the defense won't come up with some angle. So they take forever, but God help you if the feds ever charge you, because then they have you and you're totally
Oh yeah.
screwed, right? So, but if this goes beyond the next election, he's just never going to see the end of a courtroom, or maybe even possibly some kind of sequestration. Like he might end up at Mar-a-Lago with an ankle monitor, or some such thing, which I think would be even better than a jail, in my opinion.
Yes. No, but I'm confident. I think something's going to happen only because he's a criminal. That's the main reason I never liked him when it first came that he was going to run for president. I was like, no, this man is a criminal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was
No,
right.
no, and he's also very malevolent, very focused on all the
Mean.
demon. It's like the demon part of our nature. He's like the worst in us. And I mean, what he did to Obama, that whole thing with Obama's birth certificate and doing all
Was
that
wrong.
stuff about how Obama he didn't really get his degree, all these
Yeah.
dog whistles about race. Obama is like not 10 times, 100 times smarter than this guy. That's what's really ironic.
Yes.
Obama
Yes.
has a brain like this, and Trump is like a pea-brained imbecile, and but yet he's like a carnival barker, and he just throws things out there, and he represents the aggrieved white
Right.
population basically.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's all nonsense. It's just all conspiracy theories, which I really don't like. That's one thing I don't like to read on my channel. I don't like to touch conspiracy theories because I don't want to give anything any juice. So
no, for
it's
sure.
just, you know what I mean? Because it's just we don't need that. It's misinformation.
So, what's a one of your favorite topics or things that you've covered that you thought were? I mean, that by the way, I'll tell you again, that's brilliant. The unearthing the thing with the records,
Yeah.
because now I'm feeling a lot more confident.
Well,
Now I'm
you know,
thinking, perfect.
I'm familiar with this for reasons I can't discuss, but yes,
Oh,
I do
really?
know.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
There's another conspiracy.
no, it's not. But
Okay, you don't have to
yeah,
show us your CIA card
no,
or
no, no,
anything. It's fine.
no, I don't. No, 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 not like that. But no, I mean, it's there, and the laws are available for everyone to look up, and I recommend it that people look at it and see. But so the best thing everyone can do is to educate themselves about this stuff. So that's one of the reasons when I did my January 6th committee, like we were looking at all the letter to Ivanka and the rest of the group that was on there, and going over it, and I kind of read some cards on it, and I kind of talked about some other things. But I thought that was kind of a fun show to do. And then I did another one on 12 cases against 45. And so they were civil and criminal. And he's already lost a couple of them. But, so it's just kind of, I guess what I'm trying to do is educate a little bit too, because there's conspiracy theories floating around on both sides a little bit, but I also just trying to calm everyone down. We're
Hmm.
going to get through this. We will get through this in one piece. I
Hmm.
really, really believe it. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, and GOP is already starting to pull away. And I've been reading on that and seeing that that's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, they're starting to. And there's a lot of deep fissures beginning, and even in the news today. So there's more. So
Yeah, that's good. I'm so glad
yeah,
that that's what you've been sensing, because it definitely feels that way, even just using
yeah,
standard logic, because it's amazing
yes,
how people will say, oh, the mainstream media. Well, here's the thing. I remember saying this to a Trumper. We got into an argument, about like whose vision of reality is the correct vision. And I said to him,
right.
look, you and I have different news sources. You
Mhm.
listen to news that I don't listen to, and you don't listen to my news. But here's your problem.
Right.
Things seem to happen according to the way my news say they're going to happen. That's the problem
Yes.
you're having. And then you guys lose, right? And then you say, oh, they're all out to get us. Why don't you start paying attention to the true information? You're paying attention to made up stuff, right? People go, there are pigs flying. No, there aren't. Just
Yep.
check it out, right? That's the truth.
Right. And Fox has lost that lawsuit, and because they lied, and
Yeah.
that stuff is coming out. It's all coming to the forefront now. So
Hmm.
we're going to see much more of it. I am confident that eventually we're going to get through it. There has been damage done to the country, but hopefully we can start repairing that. But once the truth starts getting back out there, that's when things will shift. But
Yeah, that's very, very true. And by the way, that's another one that Fox still has more problems to deal with for a good, I'm going to
Mhm.
say, 8 months to a year, because
Yeah,
looking at their launch chart, it's back in '96. There's an actual chart, and I remember looking at it before they lost all that money, and I remember saying, "This doesn't look good to
yeah.
me. This looks like they're going to be paying
No,
out some cash," and then they paid a ton of money. It's not the end yet. There's more. There's more coming. So
much more. Yes.
yeah, and it's a good thing, because I mean, what Tucker Carlson was doing. I mean, he would just go on there and he would say, it's like everything is upside down. He would spend an entire hour saying things like, "Can you believe, like, what would you do if all these people were lying to you every day?" And he was showing MSNBC and CNN like they're the ones lying when he's the one doing the lying. It's very Trumpy, right? Trump lies, and
Mhm.
then he has Truth Social, and he says, "I'm the most honest man ever." No one can be more honest than me.
Well, just calling it Truth Social,
I know.
that's
It's
should be
it's
called Lie Social, because
I
that's what
know.
it is. It's the opposite of what he says. If he says, "Oh no, that didn't happen," it means it did.
It means it did. Yeah,
So
no, it's true. It's true. It's true. And if
speak.
he says it in all caps, it means he's angry about it.
Yep, that's right. He's yelling.
He's yelling. Yeah, I know. It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty remarkable.
Hmm.
So what any other things that you've come up with in your that you think are particularly important and in any domain that you want to mention, you know,
Oh, I
anything
don't
come
know.
to
I've read
mind?
on so much stuff that it's at this point, it's all kind of
What's your
blurring.
okay, well, I'll think of one here. What's your sense of the Ukraine Russia
Oh,
situation?
Ukraine's going to win. And especially now that they're going to get trained on the F-16s, it's about time because I can help them close their skies a little bit. But I don't see Russia, and except for when it first started, I admit I was one of the people that woke up the next day and thought, "Oh no, Ukraine's going to be gone." And then they held on, and immediately my mind and my feelings about it switched, and I had felt that they are going to win this one. And Russia's going to be experiencing major changes too. I don't know if Putin's going to still be around or not, but I know people, yeah,
Yeah.
stop for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, hey, I'll
No
say it. I
one.
mean, I'll say it for entertainment purposes only, but I've said it a number of times. It's just what I see in charts. Putin,
Yeah,
there's this whole thing swirling around them all the time about health problems. That chart has very serious health alignments, the kinds of things that not always, like, say you're a certain age, you're doing reasonably well, then it can come in as maybe some injuries, periods of sickness, maybe some uncomfortable adjustments. But once you start hearing about diagnosis of this or that or the other thing that are more complicated, those angles are really dangerous, right? So
right.
he's in a period now for years. This doesn't go away anytime soon. And one of the things I notice is when a person declines in their health, they tend to make more errors in judgment. And I mean, this was a catastrophic error. He clearly was not well informed. I think he just kind of looked at it and thought, well, Biden left Afghanistan. They're in no mood to do anything. I can just
Yeah.
walk in and do it again. He totally misread that. And in misreading it,
Yes.
he created a massive force because now Finland is part of NATO.
Yeah.
Sweden will follow at some point. I mean, it's not a good thing.
Ukraine too. They will get in.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen.
You feel
So
that too? Is that a
oh yes.
sense?
Oh, definitely. It's just I think they have to get this war over with first. Once that's over with, I think then it'll be easier. But it also depends on Russia. If Russia pushes too much, there is a possibility. I think, NATO might get involved. I don't know if they could do something to one of the NATO countries, and that would cause it. But I don't think he wants to.
No, I think
So
I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, but
could be
I
an
think
accident.
they pretty well know, and they have to know in Russia that if you can't, if the most you can do is conquer a sliver of Ukraine, you're going to take on NATO? That doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense at all. How are you going to do that?
Right.
The logic of that, I mean, even if you are delusionally crazy, you'd probably think this is like me going up with a gun against 10 men with AR-15s. Not a good plan.
Right.
So
No.
very unlikely. Yeah.
Right. And they're just getting bigger. So NATO's growing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, well,
wonderful.
I mean, this is the power of alliances. This is where you see the split right now that a guy like Trump wants to break that up. He wants to
Mhm.
actually help people like Putin. He doesn't want uh, democracies cooperating. He was already working against NATO,
I
and that's
know.
why he wouldn't even, on CNN, he wouldn't even say that he wants Ukraine to win the war. I couldn't believe that. It's
Oh, I
unbelievable.
can. That's what he thinks. But I guess I have kind of I want NATO to stay. We need it, NATO. I did a paper in college. I think it was college on NATO. So to me, I really like NATO. And I just feel like it gave me that insight early on in life about it. And it is so important. And we put NATO together after World War II for a good reason. And so we need to keep and it's very important that nations are allied for a common cause and to keep the peace. And so also is there because Russia. So
Was that the thesis of your paper when you wrote it?
oh gosh, it was so long ago, but I had to write a paper on something. It was probably history class or something for me to be choosing NATO, but it was very enlightening early on. And yeah, they're very, very important. So I'm glad that they survived the Trump presidency. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing
we need them.
yeah, it's turned out. I mean, a lot of this is that people often they're not well informed. If you study history a little bit, and the thing is, in the modern era, you don't even have to read. You can find in the Smithsonian Channel, and there's
Yep.
another channel that does this. Most people get these channels. They have fabulous presentations where you see in granular detail what happened in the Second World War. And if that doesn't scare you
Yes,
into defending NATO and realizing how dangerous this whole thing is, I don't know what would. And I can't believe that people say things like, well, the Holocaust didn't happen. You're kidding me, right? Go take a look at the footage because there were people
I can't.
filming, the situation. It's
I
so
can't take
scary.
that kind of stuff.
I
That
know.
stuff makes me so angry.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
know.
But
Good
well,
reason.
there's also YouTube also has a whole lot of history channels, and I
Yeah.
watch a lot of them.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Yeah,
they're
yeah, exactly.
wonderful. Mm,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is the point that I mean, the thing is,
yep.
probably the hard part about the era we live in is that you go to YouTube and you find a channel that tells you what happened, and then you go to another channel that creates a totally made up story. And there are people that will say, "Oh no, my channel is telling me the truth."
Excuse me.
Hmm.
Something got in my throat. But yeah, you're right. So okay. A little something back there. But yeah, it is very important.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've explored these
Oh yeah.
topics both in your through your intuitive psychic faculties and through the ordinary world of data to actually figure out
Oh,
what took
oh,
place.
definitely. I've been a news junkie since I was a little girl. And I remember was it 72 or 73 when Nixon resigned. And and I remember just reading I lived in Pittsburgh area, so I would read the Pittsburgh Press. That's what it was at that time. I would put it out on the floor in the middle of the family room, read the news. Well, my parents had the news on, and my mom would be preparing dinner, and I'd be reading the newspaper. And so after my dad was done with the paper, I would read the paper. And I just always thought it was more interesting. I think I liked doing finding out about the world more on my own than in class. Though I learned a lot in class, I think it's even more, I enjoy it more now because now I can follow whatever topic I want and see where it goes. And there's so much great information out there. And I've
Hmm.
learned so much more. So,
And
Yeah.
when did you become interested in the invisible world of,
Oh,
intuitive energy, when did that come into your life?
well, when I was 5, I think I saw my first ghost. Um,
Oh, well, there you go.
we were moving out of Pittsburgh to a town 30 miles southeast, and our house wasn't ready yet. They were building it. And so we were staying in this old house, and there was a garden in the back. And I remember being outside. It was a sunny day, and there was like a little garden shed at the end of the yard. And I saw what looked like a woman, a white woman, just all from head to toe, walk out of the shed and get to the pathway and disappear. I was like, I don't know what that is. What? I don't know. I've never seen anything like that before. I went in the house. Later on, I saw my older sister. She's only 2 years older. And I said, I saw something in the backyard. She said, Oh, this house is haunted. And I said, No, it isn't. And I was like, Oh my. So I think she also has a little bit of that too. But she told me, and I think she must have seen something as well. So that was when it first started, but I was in denial up until 1990. Well, a lot of stuff happened in between that, but I would always just kind of I don't know, things kind of got strong when I moved into a haunted apartment in 1990. I had about 3 ghosts. It was kind of, I was in denial for like the first year and a half, try to pretend like it wasn't happening. And then the second year, I realized it was happening and moved out. And then I started to actually study information about it. I read a lot of books. I read the Jane Roberts books, Seth Speaks, and other things like that, and started to learn about it and learned about energy and clearing and all that stuff. And I think I bought my first tarot deck in 1994, but it freaked me out and I threw it away. So I didn't use it. So, and then in 2010, I bought this deck.
Oh, nice.
It was the Tarot
Great
for
deck.
Dummies. Yeah. So, and I have been using this, although it doesn't look beaten up because I then went and bought 299 other card decks. So I use a lot of them.
Mhm.
But I don't know. And then I still have experiences, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. I can't even, there's so much. I'd have to write a book or something about my experiences because there's too many stories to tell. But yeah, it's been happening pretty much all my life. And I'm clairaudient. I am clairvoyant. I'm a medium. I'm able to speak um, to them. It was more verbal in the house before I got on YouTube because I had like they would be in a certain spot in the room and I would hear them. I didn't see them. They stopped showing themselves after the one that was in the doorway, which I called whispers. And I asked her, I said, can you show yourselves? She said yes. And I said, don't. We're not doing that. So um, and that this house is not haunted. So I know that spirit, they do come to me, but I'm trying to make it be on my terms. And so, I had a period where stuff would always fall in the house. Like I'd be upstairs, and I could hear things falling in the basement, and I'd have to go down and figure out something in the laundry room used to always fall. And it was weird. And then there was the day I came home in the garage, I shut the garage door and something on this side of the basement fell and something in the laundry room fell at the same time. And I thought, okay, something's going on in here now. So I
Yeah.
had to figure that one out. But yeah, so I have a lot. So my clear audience is um, outside. It's using my hearing that I can do that. So it isn't a spirit guide doing it. Although I don't know whoever I've talked to is, but I don't know. It's interesting. And I know we're all different, all the psychics, everybody's got different abilities or whatever. I don't know anyone who really I have I'm waiting to see I'm trying to see if there's someone similar to me in what I have. It was one of the reasons for joining YouTube, and so far I haven't quite found that. But
Hmm.
it'd be interesting to find someone who has the same experiences like that.
Is it
So
now? Can I ask a question? Is it possible? Well, I would assume you could do it, and maybe anyone could, or they could learn to. Is it possible to talk or make a connection to, say, a grandfather that died years ago, or your father or
Mm.
your mother, or something like? Is that possible, or is that uh,
Yeah,
more like only available to some people and not others?
it is possible, but yeah, I mean, I'm a medium, so that means I'm psychic and a medium, which I still am not comfortable saying that, but I've just kind of been like putting it, going through life, and I always figure, I guess everyone deals with this, but I will say that the day that my father died, and he was in Pennsylvania and I'm in Maryland, and was going to bed, and went to turn off the light next to my bed, and over by my door, I heard, "Don't forget." And I knew that was my father. And I said, "I won't forget, Dad." And so I knew he came. He's been in this house a couple times, so he knew my room. He could just find me. I think it doesn't matter. He knows where to find us. I believe he went around to my sisters and I, and to say his goodbye. But yeah, no. So I always think of that, and I'm really honored that he did come to me that night. So
Hmm.
yeah, and yeah, he
Is
can. And I've spoken to my grandparents. So
ah.
you were asking about that. Yes.
Is this what is this when you do you work with people to do that as a be a medium for toward their connect them to their ancestors, or do you do other
Well,
things with your
well,
work?
right now I'm just on YouTube. I'm not really doing this as a business. I do still have a full-time job that
Ah,
is pays me very, very well. So I'm good. When I retire, that might change. I might start doing it, but right now I do kind of have to be mindful of having another um salary coming in. I don't want to do that. That complicates things.
ah,
So yeah. But I'm just gonna wait. It's only hopefully in 3 years I will retire, and then I can go do whatever I want. But I think for now, YouTube is helping me to learn other ways, because for me, I was just living it. I wasn't trying to read for other people and do other things. And so it is different, and I have to change gears, and the way that I approach it is different. And when it's like when I'm reading for people and they're in chat and I can't see them, it is kind of difficult. But as long as if they're there, I'm getting better at still connecting to them a little bit. So their feedback is very important for me to know whether or not I'm connecting to them. And there have been cases, well, at least when I started doing this more, I think it was 2020 when I did a reading for someone who apparently they were asking about someone who lived in Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, but I saw a street. I was seeing the street and I was seeing the person. And I described it, and they were like, "How do you know this?" And I don't know. I get images and um that
hmm,
kind of thing. So that's starting to change. I'm getting more mental mediumship happening in this situation with YouTube, but it is helping me. So
hmm,
for now, so I'm not really charging anyone right now, but and for me, and I know a lot of people are talking about give and take, but actually they are giving me something because they're helping me to help them, but it also helps me to grow. So, because
hmm,
I don't have like a medium circle or anything that I'm working with, but it does help, and it's sort of in real time, and I think it's good, and I'm still exploring my abilities and seeing what I can do, because I want to do good with it. And I don't, when I read cards and I do things like that, I don't leave people with negative readings. I don't like that. I don't believe there's a bad card in the deck. Yes, we have the devil, we've got the tower, we've got all that stuff. But those things don't stand for actual like death. And it's a tool for people to help figure out, like they're going to be able to maybe figure out what's going on with them. And I like to have my camera so I can show my cards, because I want them to see it also. So I'm
hmm,
transparent and they can see them and they can interpret them for themselves as well. But I will not, I don't predict things. I don't predict death. I don't predict stuff like that. I don't touch health. I'm not doing that. But I just want to be helpful, and maybe they could have a moment where they, I mean, if I could help, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know,
Hmm.
but that's my intent, and it's to do good. So,
And is it when you, so if you are talking to me or anyone like in this scenario where there are two people on camera, is that
okay.
is that where you're saying that if you and I were in the same room, you would pick up more than this way, right? More, it's easier to do the energy
Well,
reading.
it is easier for me, but I mean, normally I didn't really go and read people. Although the times I did it, it was kind of, I was like, what am I doing? We just start doing it. And I thought, this isn't right. You can't just do that. So I don't really do that anymore. But I did have a situation where there was someone who was also has the same name as I do, but first name. And her mother had passed away, and I knew I had met her mother, and she was always like, well, I wish she'd come around. And I did keep telling her, I think she is around. But then there was a situation where, and she went outside and told someone, well, Sheilah's a medium. And I was like, what? You believe in me? And I said that to her. And she said, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like all of a sudden, and I'm talking to her, I see her mother, like her head is like huge. I see her face all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I said, your mother is here. She's with you. Oh my goodness. And she's making it known. And I don't even know. They come when they want to come. And it
Mm.
was just it was wacky. I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know if the timing of this was particularly good, but it was like,
Wow.
okay.
No,
So
that's really cool. That's
she
powerful.
believed, and her mom just came right in. And so it was really something.
Hmm.
So yeah, it
Very
was kind
good.
of shocking. I still sometimes, yeah, they surprise me.
No,
So
it's a
yeah,
really powerful. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I'd love to follow up more on this topic if you're
yes,
into it.
yes,
Yeah, it's just totally fascinating. It's not really the
absolutely.
thing that I do, but I'm definitely interested in anything related. Let's just put it that way. And so I'd love to follow up more. And plus,
Yes,
we can follow up more on um, the current situation because I'm
yes.
pretty sure we're going to have things to work with. I
Right,
mean, things are happening week to week and keeping us all, entertained in a
right.
certain way and busy as well. So
Yes, I'm
that is
definitely
great.
open for the spiritual discussions as well as the current events and everything happening there. So
Excellent. All right. Well, I look
absolutely.
forward to the next meeting.
Me too. We will definitely.
All right.
All right.